UFC Fight Night Adesanya Pyfer goes down tomorrow night. So I'm going to be going through the entire card, giving you my picks and predictions, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event. So let's go. All right, now to kick off the early prelims, we have Alexei Nara versus Bruno Brazil. Another women's rematch that no one really expected, but getting into this one, Alexei Nara has looked pretty solid in her two UFC fights she's had going a win over Luma Lookboom in her last one by decision, and then she won by RNC against Molly McCann in her first. So, um, Bruno Brazil did win the first fight. That's the only loss on Thainar's record. But I don't know. In this fight, I feel like Alexa Thainar, she's really heavy on that. She's really heavy going forward, really good forward pressure. And Bruno Brazil does a lot of that lean back kind of defense. And with someone who's just constantly coming forward, leaning back is not what you want to do. And Bruno Brazil, she's just a little bit too hesitant. Not maybe not hesitant, but just like overly technical on the feet and won't shoot in on a shot if it's not perfect. So when it comes to something like this, especially with how strong and athletic that Thanar has been in these past couple fights, it's kind of a no-brainer for me in this one. I know the odds are heavy in Thanar's favor in this one. Bruno Brazil kind of letting down the Fighting Nerds gym, but yeah. Moving on, I've got Alex Thanar in the first one. Moving on, this is actually a sick fight. We have Adrian Yanez versus Ricky Simone. Um, Real ones know. Yanez, when he came into the UFC, came in on like a 4 fight win streak, starting out, and he looked like he was gonna be the next guy up at 35. Then obviously you got a couple tough fights. Really didn't like his fight against Rob Font. Rob Font, I get he can be a tricky test, but how Rob Font's looked recently after that fight, kind of getting pieced up by him, and then obviously in the next one getting leg kick TKO'd by Jonathan Martinez. Um, Not a good look. Where Ricky Simone, obviously his last one was with Honey Barcelos, and those guys are just hanging out in the 135 division in between that 15 to 22 in the ranking spot. It's just absolute killers. Um, Ricky Simone obviously is a really good grappler. He's pretty well rounded at this point in his game. He's been here for a long time. He's a vet. Stoned out. I think it was Javid Basharat, the one that got cut out of the Basharat brothers. But I'm gonna take Ricky in this one. I think I'm kind of surprised the odds aren't a little bit more swayed for Ricky Simone. I think he'd be around like a minus 200 in this one. But I love better odds for a Ricky Simone fight. Um, yeah, I think Ricky Simone will probably get this one down by 29, get it done by 29-28. Don't see a finish coming. I think Yanez is going to be durable enough to hold off the ground and pound from Ricky. But yeah, I've got Ricky Simone by 29-28. Moving on, probably my favorite prospect at 205 right now, Navajo Sterling, takes on Bruno Lopez. Now, this is an interesting fight because both guys, I mean, you look at Navajo at 8-0 and you'd think, oh, yeah, this guy, he's the one looking for a test in the UFC, which he is. But I think this is Bruno Lopez. I think this is only his third fight in the UFC. And obviously, in his last one, got KO'd by Dustin Jacoby, but that's not a bad loss. Losing to Dustin Jacoby, I don't think that's terrible. Dustin Jacoby's really good, especially on the feet, how he got KO'd. But I just don't think Bruno Lopez's durability is there. Because Navajo's really like the CKB, like the prototype, especially at 205, being one of the bigger guys to come out of city kickboxing. Um, Super technical on the feet. He has really good combinations. He just won't let it all loose. And I get it at 205. There's a lot of danger on standing on the feet and really letting go on the feet. But I like how the UFC is kind of giving him like these little step ups. Like he's got 3 or 4 wins now. I think 4. Lotto Urslan, Taco, whatever. I like how they're not giving him in his 3rd fight. They're like, oh, okay, let's give you Johnny Walker. Okay, let's give you get Dustin Jacoby. Dustin Jacoby, I would not like that matchup. Maybe after this, if he gets a finish in this fight over Bruno Lopez, I would like a Dustin Jacoby fight. Dustin Jacoby, when he fights these up and comers, you just kind of know what's happening at this point. But this one, I feel like it's going to be pretty easy. The odds are pretty crazy. I'm not going to lie. Navajo's really good, but like minus 500 range, I'm not sure about that. I'm going to be taking Navajo. I think he's going to be able to kind of just outpace, out-pressure him. I think he'll probably be able to get it done by TKO in the 2nd round, maybe in the 3rd, early 3rd, late 2nd. That's what I'm going to guess. Not guess. But moving on, we have Casey O'Neill versus Gabriela Fernandez. Casey O'Neill's finally back. She hasn't fought since August of 2024. And Gabriela Fernandez has really been doing her thing recently. Obviously the win that sticks out for Gabriela Fernandez is the Wang Kong fight where she drops her with the head kick and then RNCs her. That's incredible. She has that split decision win over Carly Judice, and Carly Judice is really good. My only thing for Gabriela Fernandez in this fight that I'm kind of nervous about is when the other person has the ability to take her down and has taken her down, her volume on the feet drops exponentially. And that's not good in a fight against Casey O'Neill because she can take her down. And I think she probably will get her down at some point in this fight. I think Gabriela Fernandez is going to be athletic enough to be able to get back to her feet and kind of keep this fight striking, where I think she definitely has the edge. She has power on her with her hands. She throws kicks well to all 3 levels. Casey O'Neill, on the other hand, she has good grappling. She got fraud checked by Jennifer Maia when she was on a couple fight win streak. She got armbarred by Ariana Lipsky. Not the greatest things to happen. But this is a pick'em. Odds are pretty good on this fight, so I'm going to be leaning towards Gabriela Fernandez. Obviously, it's not a lock. It's women's MMA. Nothing's a lock. We know how this goes. But I'm going to be going with Gabriela Fernandez. Moving on. See, I don't get what's going on with these fight night cards. Why are we having debutantes on the main card when we have number 8 heavyweight in the world, Marcin Tybura? Obviously, he's taking on a debutant, but who's better? Marcin Tybura at heavyweight or Juliana Rosa? Let's be real. I feel like at this point, more people know who Marcin Tybura is off of him getting beat in fights by guys who end up being good. The Tom Aspinalls, the Ante Delias. Where with Julian Rosa, he has... We'll get to him later. Whatever. But in this fight, it's a tough one. I think Terrell, I think he has the edge in the grappling for sure. I think Tybura's better on the feet, not necessarily the power edge to Tybura. I'd say that's up in the air for whoever, but Marcin Tybura, he's been on a full camp. He was supposed to fight Walter Walker. Walter Walker is a much better heavyweight than Terrell Fortune. Feel bad for him. He's kind of getting pulled, finally signed to the UFC. He's fought in Bellator and the PFL for a long time. And now he's getting signed and quick right into one with Marcin Tybura, who really loses to guys who are kind of the cream of the crop of heavyweight, really. A really, really close fight with Mick Parkin, and who knows, I don't think Mick Parkin... he has... Okay. But this fight's a tough one. Heavyweight debutant, you don't know whether or not he's just flatlining cans outside of the UFC. But I'm gonna take it as such, and I'm gonna take Marcin Tybura by 29-28 decision. Probably gets rocked in the first round, and then he's just able to kind of blob his way back into it as the heavyweight vet that he is. Moving on, we have Chase Hooper. Chase Hooper versus the Name Merchant, Lance Gibson Jr. He had a close fight with Bobby Green. Well, close fight. I guess you could give him one of the rounds. Somehow it was a split decision. I think Bobby Green was just really putting on like a Bobby Green performance, really not letting him get to where he wanted to be, not letting him get to the positions he wanted to be. Now on the feet here, it's much. If on the feet level has just dropped exponentially with Chase Hooper. His hands are getting better since he's moved up to 155. But we saw how that went in his last fight with Alex Hernandez. It was a tough watch. But in this fight, I don't think the skill gap on the feet is going to be enough as the skill gap on the ground. Chase Hooper is an excellent submission artist. He has really... until he gets clipped a couple times, his takedown entries are really nice. Really nice. He's really athletic with them. He can take the back super well. He chain grapples super well. Flows through submissions. It's really nice watching Chase Hooper on the ground. Watching him work on the ground it's entertainment. It's probably the most entertaining grappling we have in the UFC. Like submission hunting grappling, I guess you could say. But Lance Gibson Jr., he does have pretty solid takedowns. His grappling is all right. But if he tries to take down Chase Hooper in this fight, I think that's just asking to be finished. I think his chances of getting finished on the ground are significantly higher than if he was to try and keep this fight standing the whole time. That just really depends on how well Chase has improved his striking and his striking defense with that. He has the big height advantage in this fight. I think Chase Hooper will be able to get this one done. Either submission or decision. I just think Lance Gibson Jr., he's not that good. I think he got signed because he's Canadian. And his dad was big in the MMA space a couple back in the day. So we're going to rock with Chase Hooper. Keep it simple. Moving on to the prelim headliner. Ignacio Bohemondez versus Tafik Mosaev. Tafik he's an interesting character because he been a big prospect outside of the UFC for a long time, and then he finally gets his debut, and his debut's against Mike Dickbeck Odobai. And Odobai's really, really good. And we saw that. And matching up with that in your first fight does kind of suck. But he puts punches and kicks together really well. It's pretty hard, but he overswings a lot, and especially on a guy who kicks as well as Ignacio does. If you overswing on something, it's just going to step into a knee. Ignacio, he keeps his range pretty well. He's obviously the much bigger person in this fight. He's 6'3" to 5'9" in this fight. It's a rather large height gap in this. I think Ignacio's going to cruise in this one. I think this is going to really level him up. Obviously, he was on a pretty big win streak, and then he fought Fiziev. Fiziev kind of speed mogged him in that fight. I think Tafik will definitely be a little faster than him on the feet, but I think that range, having to close that gap, I think Ignacio is going to have a little easier of a time kind of dealing with that, using his front kick to use the space. But I think this will be pretty easy fight for, not easy fight for Ignacio, but this will be, I think the odds aren't crazy for being as high as they are. Uh, Shafiq does have finishing potential in the first round, but after the first round, I don't really think he has the gas tank to keep that kind of power going. Because if he can get the fight to the ground, his ground and pound is brutal. He will crack people with that. And Ignacio is willing to kind of work off of his back. And I think in this fight, that is exactly what he should not be doing. If he gets to the ground at any point, get your butt to the fence, work your way up the fence, because Tafiq is not someone you want on top of you having that top pressure. So I'm gonna take Ignacio by either late rounds finish or decision. Now moving on to the main card. Oh my goodness. We have the train wreck, T-Rex. We have Terrence McKinney versus Kyle Nelson. We know it's going down in a Terrence McKinney fight. It's a car crash in the first round, and if it doesn't crash, it crashes in the second round. He's never been to a decision, and he has over 20 professional fights. It's pretty insane. And as a fight fan, you just kind of have to love that. Killer be killed kind of fight style. I think it's awesome. Going in against someone kind of a pretty technical striker, that is Kyle Nelson. He looked really, really good in his last fight against Matt Frivola. Obviously, the fight before that, it was a KO loss to Steve Garcia, but a loss to Steve Garcia, I don't hate. Steve Garcia is on a tear. Terrence McKinney, on the other hand, gave Chris Duncan everything he could take in that first round, but then it fell apart. It's beat Borshov. Everything's just let it all hang out in that first round. Kind of whatever happens at the end of the day. I think Kyle Nelson's just a little bit too good. I think he's kind of close to that Chris Duncan level where he'll be able to avoid that first round finish. I don't think he's gonna sub him. I think Terrence McKinney has the advantage in the ground game. I think he's a little bit better of a grappler, wrestling wise, the pressure, the strength, all that. He just leaves himself open. His chin isn't that great. His cardio's not great. And Kyle Nelson's pretty technically. He throws really good body kicks. He has that high guard moving forward. I just think Terrence McKinney, if he doesn't crack him in that first round, that he's not gonna be able to find a finish after that. And I think Kyle Nelson will be able to kind of walk it to a pretty easy 29-28 decision after losing the first round. Kyle Nelson's takedown defense is pretty solid with that. As much as I want to say I picking Terrence McKinney, I'm gonna take Kyle Nelson. I mean, I can just see Kyle Nelson with his mustache getting slimed out so bad. Highlight reel slime out. But I'm gonna take Kyle Nelson in this. I think Terrence McKinney's gonna burn himself out. I'm changing my pick. I'm taking Terrence McKinney. Kyle Nelson, he's durable enough, but I don't think he can take that first round. There's not many people who can take the first round of Terrence McKinney, and I think Terrence McKinney is going to come in. He knows what has been the biggest downfall in his fights, and that's his fight IQ. And I think that's what he's worked on. And I'm going to take him, Terrence McKinney, by first or second round finish. He's going to let it come a little bit better. He's not going to force as many things. I think we're going to see a new and improved Terrence McKinney. I know I flipped so hard on this, but I'm trusting in the development of Terrence McKinney. I love his story. I've been a fan of him for a long time. I'm going to ride the train, keep it with Terrence McKinney, keep it with T-Rex. First or second round finish. And now, honestly, this is, besides the main event, this is my favorite fight on the entire card. Yursvi Belgari versus Mansour Abdulmalik. Both guys, I feel like, are kind of hyped up. I think Mansour gets a decent bit of a star power, that little hype behind him. But I think Yushui Belgari, I think he's the one that really deserves the hype behind him. He's obviously been a glory kickboxer, had fights with Alex and Izzy and all the guys from over there. And he's an extremely high level kickboxer. And in his last fight, he looked incredible against Azamat Bakoev. Able to kind of stop the takedowns, keep it standing on the feet, and just kind of pick his shots at range, using his range. Is huge for the division. 185, and he's 6'6". It is crazy. Where Mansour Abdul Malik, I don't think he's a huge favorite in this one. He has power, he has decent grappling. He has strongman's grappling. He has strongman's grappling. He's athletic. He leaves himself open to counters. He hasn't fought anyone nearly as good on the feet as Belgari is. And Belgari's fought guys that are hit harder than Mansour. He hasn't probably fought anyone as athletic in MMA yet. And when he comes to kickboxing, he fought Wilkins. He's fought these kind of fast, big, strong, twitchy kind of strikers. I think Yushui Belgari, I think he's going to jab him up. I think he's going to keep him on the end of his punches, and I think he's going to be able to use his range in this fight. He has decent, he can use the cage push every once in a while. He can use his sprawl. He's showed improvement in his MMA game. He's not just a kickboxer. Obviously, when he was first coming in, trying to make the turn over to MMA, he fought Marco Tulio on the Contender Series. Marco's really good. I don't hate that loss, especially that early on into your MMA career, switching over. But he's looked great since then. That Azamat Bakoev, I might take Azamat Bakoev over Mansour Abdul Malik. I still think he's really, really good. He had put together a couple really good finishes in his first couple fights, and then he ran into Belgari. He was a huge favorite in that fight, and he just couldn't get his takedowns off. And Yushui was able to just keep him on the end of his punches, and he was able to put him out in the second round. Do I think he's going to be able to put out Mansour? Probably not. I think he'll probably win this by decision. I really didn't like the way Mansour was taking the punches against Cody Brundage. And that's from Cody Brundage, a striker not even freaking close to how high level Belgari is. And Belgari's the underdog in this fight. This is everything I've ever wanted. I've been watching Belgari for a long time now. He's been in the corner for Alex Pereira. He works with Alex Pereira often. I've got Belgari in this, and I think he could honestly make a run at middleweight with how fucking shit middleweight is right now. I think he could make a run. Not saying that he's bad. I'm just saying that there's so much just trash laying around just to get KO'd. I think he could make a solid run. Give him Cannonier, and I think he does solid. I'll say that. Moving on. This fight should be over this. This should be one of the first 5 fights on the card. We have Julian Erosa versus Lerone Douglas. This is a tough one. Douglas is a pretty big favorite. But Julian Erosa, he wins fights he's not supposed to. He was on a solid win streak until he ran into Miko Zalacosta last year and had a sick fight. That was a sick fight. Charles Jourdain was on his big come up, able to kind of break him and then sub him. The only thing that scares me in this one is Douglas. He kind of has that throws more single shots, but he has really good power. And Erosa keeps his hands like this for some reason. He has the Elmer Fudd fight stance. And I don't get it. He's a good striker. He uses flying knees to crash the space, and I think on a shorter fighter that kind of stuff can work. He's big for the division. He's kind of got a funky body. I'm just not high on the Contender Series right now. The guys that have been coming in, it's like minus 250, minus 300, and they're just coming into the UFC, and they're fighting guys who have been either 2 fights in, or they're fighting guys that are like 8 fights in. And like when they're fighting guys that are 8 fights in, usually they're not winning. And Julian Erosa, look at his record. He's been in the UFC for way more than 8 fights. And 31-13 with the majority of those fights coming from inside the UFC. You can't say much, but that's pretty fucking good. So I'm gonna take Julian Erosa. I think the underdog pick here. He either gets slimed out in the first or he's gonna win it by decision. I think he's gonna be able to withstand that. I think he's gonna be able to avoid the finish in the first. I think he's gonna be able to kind of tire out Douglas, use his front kick. Um, Kind of step and move off of Douglas, off his leg kicks. He throws leg kicks really hard, and I think Julian Erosa will be able to kind of be quick enough, light enough on his feet to kind of get outside of those, check him, do as much as he can with that. And I think he'll be able to win this 29-28, win in the second and third round after maybe getting dropped in the first, getting clipped. I think Erosa could do this one. I'm not super confident. I wouldn't put money on it, but I'm thinking Julian Erosa can get that done. Oh my God. Moving forward, that dolly situation with Connor, where he threw the dolly and it broke the glass and all of it went on Michael Chiesa and all that shit. They must have just gave him everything and more. He's getting, every time he fights, he's on the main card against easier and easier opponents, it seems like. Um, he's got a he has a UFC desk job. He's commentaries, does the panel work, all this. Does he have the video of Jones and Dana White? Is that what it is? Is that the case that we're working with? Because he's fighting Nico Price, and I hope this is his retirement fight because I'm tired of seeing these matchups on the main card. I hope both of these guys just retire after this. Nico's coming off of a loss from Varetnikov, and he got slimed out in the first, like we all expected. I've got Michael Chiesa. This one's gonna be easy. He's gonna be able to get to his ground game, be athletic. He is a good athlete. He's got a solid ground game. I just think Nico Price is so past his expiration date that it's just, I don't know why we're watching either of these guys fight, especially this far into the card. Like, Marcin Tybura is a bigger fight. Chase Hooper is a bigger fight. What else? Yursi Belgarawi, that's a bigger fight. It sucks. This sucks to see on a main card, and I'm not gonna go in depth on a breakdown for a fight that I think that sucks. Michael Chiesa is gonna win this easily. Moving on, we have Alexa Grasso versus Macy Barber. Alexa Grasso's just not looked good lately. The last 2 fights just didn't look great, and I'm not saying Macy Barber's looked incredible. Obviously, she had the thing with the Aaron Blanchfield fight, and I would have taken Aaron Blanchfield to piece her up. I think Blanchfield's on a run, but Macy Barber's good. Her striking's all right. She moves forward. She has like that bully kind of striking where she's just kind of always going forward. Her grappling's solid. She works well with her ground and pound, and once she's kind of in on that like cage push, she uses dirty boxing pretty well. Will throw knees, and when she lands clean, it is pretty powerful. But it's just a matter of actually landing clean. And she has her, I would say her ground game is where she kind of excels. But as she's gone farther and farther into the UFC, she's kind of liked the striking a little bit more, I think. And I think on the feet here, she'll be fine. Alexa Grasso doesn't carry a whole lot of power. She has good combos. She has good volume. Has a pretty solid jab that she sticks behind, but her bag taking ability is really where she kind of excelled. Obviously, that's how she beat Valentina Shevchenko in the first one. She attacks submissions when she's on the ground. She really goes for them. It's just, I don't know. She just hasn't looked great. And Macy Barber, I feel like she's kind of putting it together when it comes to coming down the stretch of her career, like leading up to where she wants to be for a title shot. Honestly, probably if she wins this, she's probably going to get a title shot. They want new contenders at the top of the women's flyweight division. I'm just not excited about this fight, really. I think Grasso's been pretty boring lately, and Macy Barber in her last fight, it was just kind of a comedy show watching her get kicked in the face on the ground. But I'm going to go with Macy Barber. Not thrilled, but I don't want to pick Macy Barber. I like Alexa Grasso better. I just think Macy Barber's going to get it done. Moving on to the main event. Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer. Obviously, we're seeing Izzy on the biggest downfall or skid of his career, 1-4 in the last 5. And Pyfer, he's been putting it together. He's got, I mean, his wins aren't, none of them are even close to the level of Israel Adesanya. His last one was against Abus Magomedov, which I guess, but Izzy in all the fights that he's lost, he's looked good. He's looked really good, and I used to be a really big Israel Adesanya fan. I really liked what he did. He looked good in the first round against Mavov, and then off of the eye poke break, he got clipped and got put on his chin. And obviously, a Mavov, he's kind of got that pinpoint power where if he can land that shot, it's pretty powerful. Where Joe Pyfer, it's just kind of like that clubbing power, where it's like he's got that overhand right that we all know about, that Francis Ngannou level power, as they say. I just think Israel Adesanya, this is the lowest competition level he's fought. This is Joe Pyfer. This is the highest competition level he's ever fought. So obviously, Joe Pyfer in this situation kind of has everything to gain, nothing to lose, where Izzy kind of almost has everything to lose. It's like, holy shit, you're losing to Joe Pyfer now. Lost to Jack Hermanson like 3 fights ago. But Joe Pyfer is becoming more and more of a MMA athlete. His grappling's definitely improving. He's got tight squeeze on the ground. His takedowns are honestly getting pretty solid. They're like really powerful takedowns, getting his head on that side and just really driving through. He's always looking to set up that overhand. The takedown setups, that's dipping low to set up that overhand. Izzy saw this stuff before. We know what Izzy has done. He looked good. Like again in the DDP fight, he was doing great. He was winning that fight if it went to a decision. Obviously, this is huge cope, but I think his sprawl is pretty good. His takedown defense, he used the cage really well to use that to work his way back up. He really moves well on his back foot, just sticking and moving. Switches stances. It's tough to set stuff up on him, especially in overhand when he's switching stances. Throws kicks to all 3 levels really well. His hands do drop quite a bit, and I don't like that, especially going with a power puncher, but I think he's going to really, really try and have that be the emphasis of this fight, is when he's going to throw that left hook, he's not going to drop his right hand, and he's going to keep it up. Because that's how he's got. Sean Strickland dropped him. And Mavov, that's how he got dropped. I just think Israel Adesanya is just too high level. I think this will be a good one to get back on the horse, really show you're not washed. You are doing solid. It's just got clipped. I don't think Pyfer's got the pinpoint ability to catch Izzy on the chin. But this is gonna be a really sick fight to watch. I'm really excited. Finishing potential on both sides. I think Pyfer has finishing potential on the ground. He obviously has the skyscraper over the top. I think Izzy could get a finish on the feet. I think he can really work the body in that second round and kind of beat him up through that and use that to finish him in the third. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. I think Izzy's a little bit of a favorite. I'm gonna be going with Izzy in this. Um, Honestly, for a fight night card, we're back out of the Apex. We've got a crowded event, so it's gonna have a little more of that energy to it. And we've got some pretty cool fights on this card, so I'm not gonna complain a whole lot about not getting what we want. I'm excited for this. I've been excited for this fight since it's been announced. So I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to shut up and enjoy what the UFC is giving us. That's it. Full card breakdown. Give me your thoughts, what you think in the comments. You've made it this far. I really appreciate it. Join the Telegram. I will be dropping parlays tomorrow morning. Devio picks on Telegram. Devio MMA on Instagram. Like, subscribe, all that. Catch you guys next week. Peace and love.